Hi and welcome everyone, I'm Gavin Lon. So, 2024 no doubt is an exciting time for .NET developers. .NET 8 was released last year, November 2023, and we have just entered 2024. With this release of .NET, many new features and enhancements are now available for .NET developers to leverage. The only downside to this significant growth in the .NET ecosystem is that it is easy to get lost amongst all the great new features and enhancements. In this video, I've attempted to outline some of the latest trends in .NET to help you understand the trajectory of .NET and see the overall evolution of .NET from a broad perspective. It is impossible to cover everything in one video, so it would be great if you included any new .NET features that you feel I should have included in this video below in the comments section. Your comments and insights, as always, are greatly appreciated. So, here are my top 10 .NET trends in 2024, and they are in no particular order. Trend number 1, integration of AI into .NET apps. So, the sound of AI is echoing around the world, causing many to fear the winds of change that it might bring. Well, the winds of amusement swept over me this Christmas, where I was discussing the threat of AI with some family members. Let's just say of the older generation. Now, bear in mind that this particular audience, at the family gathering of which I speak, are all farmers and not in the know, let's say, when it comes to the latest trends in technology. During the conversation, it became apparent that AI had a completely different meaning to them, as I was getting some funny looks as I discussed the threat of AI. It turns out AI also stands for artificial insemination. So of course, I had to clarify that I was not talking about the threat of artificial insemination. The moral of the story is that it is very important to know your target audience before you open your mouth. Okay, so back to the AI and .NET trends. So, unless you've been hiding under a rock over the last year, you'll no doubt have heard about large language models like ChatGPT. You may have even used ChatGPT, for example, to write some code, translate some English into French, or even spout out some poetry. You may have asked ChatGPT to create a new workout regime for you for your New Year's resolution. There are so many great benefits that can be leveraged through ChatGPT. You can go to openai.com and prompt the free version of ChatGPT to output some pretty amazing and useful content. What is even more amazing is how easy it is to integrate ChatGPT into your .NET applications. Through Azure OpenAI Studio, you can customize ChatGPT to the requirements of your particular application. You can use a facility called Chat Playground that runs on Azure to test out various prompt augmentations coupled with potential user-inputted prompts in order to create a custom AI solution that can then be made available through your own custom .NET applications. So once you are happy with the response outputted by ChatGPT after testing your custom solution, established through the use of Chat Playground on Azure, you are able to generate endpoints through Chat Playground that will be available to your .NET applications on Azure. So this makes it easy to integrate sophisticated AI functionality into your .NET applications. You could create, for example, a chatbot service for helping customers understand your products and services better, where the chatbot can interact in a human-like manner with your users, and your users can ask your chatbot questions about your products and services, and these questions can be asked using natural language. Useful human-like responses can be returned from your chatbot, providing your users with an incredible UX, user experience. You could also, through the use of another Azure service known as Cognitive Search, allow users to make custom searches restricted to, for example, relevant PDF documents related to your company, and then relevant ChatGPT prompts based on what was returned from Cognitive Search as a result of a custom search made across your PDF documents, combined with a user's query, can be sent to ChatGPT, so that customers' queries are constrained to a particular set of PDF documents related to your business. This truly means that you are able to add an incredible level of sophistication to your .NET applications. Number 2, the Blazor Framework. Those of you who regularly watch the videos released on this channel will know that I've covered a lot of the new Blazor features that have been released with .NET 8. In this video, I'm going to summarize these new features to give you a basic idea of the hugely significant progress that has been made recently with the Blazor Framework. SSR. Server-side rendering is now available with Blazor. Your Razor components can now be server-side rendered. Two significant benefits of SSR are better SEO, search engine optimization, and much faster initial load times of your Razor components. Streaming rendering. Streaming rendering means that when your Razor components are initially loaded, that any static content can be loaded almost immediately in the user's browser, and any dynamic content that, for example, depends on a database query, can be loaded after the static content has already been loaded in the user's browser. This means pixels are on the screen almost immediately. A loading indicator can be, for example, initially presented with the static content as a placeholder for the relevant dynamic content, and when the dynamic content is available, the loading indicator disappears and is replaced with the dynamic content that includes the relevant content retrieved from the database. Streaming rendering means the benefits of SSR are gained while still maintaining the responsiveness that is expected from a SPA technology. Note that when streaming rendering is used, no signal R connection is used to push the content from the server to the client. A typical HTTP request-response model is used with SSR and streaming rendering. Regarding client-side SPA interaction functionality, both Blazor WebAssembly components and Blazor server components can now be included within the same Blazor project and even referenced from within the same Razor file. So you can leverage a Signal R connection for Blazor server components, as well as the near-native speeds gained through Blazor WebAssembly components within one project and even one page. A new project template is now available called Blazor Web App, where mixed render modes can be included within the same project and even the same Razor page. An auto mode has been included. So for example, one disadvantage to Blazor WebAssembly components is their slow initial load times because of all the files that need to be initially downloaded to the browser. With auto render mode, a Signal R connection can be leveraged for the initial loading of the relevant Razor component. Then in the background, the relevant files for the relevant Razor component can be downloaded. The relevant Razor component can then subsequently function as a Blazor WebAssembly component. So with auto mode, you are gaining the benefits inherent in both Blazor server components as well as the benefits inherent in Blazor WebAssembly components. Number 3, .NET MAUI. .NET MAUI is the successor to Xamarin, where you are able to create sophisticated cross-platform desktop and mobile applications from a single shared codebase. If it's a purely performance advantage you are looking to leverage on native devices like iOS and Android devices, you may be better off using, for example, Java for Android devices or Objective-C or Swift for iOS devices. However, the massive advantage to using .NET MAUI for cross-platform native functionality is that you can stay within the .NET ecosystem and create super sophisticated cross-platform desktop and mobile functionality from one shared codebase written in C#. So this is advantageous, for example, for companies that have existing .NET and C# skills. You will not need to hire Java, Swift, and Objective-C developers, and at the risk of a small performance penalty, you can leverage your existing .NET and C# skills to create sophisticated cross-platform functionality that can leverage the functionality available on the relevant native devices. So a single codebase written in C# can be leveraged across a diverse array of platforms. Note that Linux platforms cannot yet be targeted by .NET MAUI apps but you are able to develop .NET MAUI apps on Linux. Note that the new .NET MAUI extension for Visual Studio Code is now available, which allows you to have a great experience developing .NET MAUI apps using Visual Studio Code. Features like hot reload are continually being improved, so that when, for example, code changes are made while you are running your code interactively, you do not need to stop and start the running of your application while testing your .NET MAUI app. Number 4, Blazor Hybrid. Blazor Hybrid means you can now leverage Blazor to create desktop, mobile, and web functionality from one shared codebase. So Blazor Hybrid takes flexibility and code reuse to a new level. Blazor is part of ASP.NET Core. It is component-based and enables you to build full-stack web applications. So the two fundamental modes of Razor components in Blazor is Blazor Server and Blazor WebAssembly. With Blazor Server, the C# code runs on the server, and relevant data is pushed down from the server to the browser via a Signal R connection. The relevant web page is then updated with the relevant changes made through the user interacting with the browser. With Blazor WebAssembly, the C# code actually runs within the user's browser on a technology known as WebAssembly. So the code runs client-side and therefore is great for scenarios where your app needs to run offline. Blazor Hybrid can be seen as a third mode, where Razor components can be leveraged, for example, in WinForms and WPF apps, where the native Windows functionality of the platform on which the app runs can be leveraged. This is made possible through the WebView control. WebView is a control that enables you to host Razor components in your WPF or .NET MAUI app. So the Razor components run within the WebView controls on the WPF and WinForms apps, and can leverage the native functionality of the Windows platform on which the relevant app is running. You can also run Blazor Hybrid apps using the .NET MAUI framework, which means not only can you leverage the native functionality of Windows platforms through Razor components, you are also able to leverage the native functionality of Mac, iOS, and Android from within the same Razor components shared across those platforms. So through Blazor Hybrid, you can share or reuse the same Razor components across multiple types of platforms, i.e. Windows, Mac, Android, iOS, and web applications. So Blazor Hybrid provides a huge amount of flexibility to .NET and C# developers. So Blazor Hybrid means that you can share Razor components across multiple platforms, Windows, Mac, Android, iOS, and the web. Number 5, ASP.NET Core Authentication Simplified. Microsoft has answered the calls for an easier implementation of auth functionality for single applications, like for example SPA apps written using the Blazor Framework or cross-platform mobile apps written using the .NET MAUI framework, where perhaps a sophisticated full OIDC OpenID Connect solution is not required. So you may not need a full OIDC solution for your application. You only have one application that needs to authenticate the users of the application in a simple, straightforward way without all the sophistication and flexibility provided through a full OIDC solution. For example, where a third-party full OIDC server like Duende Identity Server is included within the architecture of your application. So rather than Microsoft providing a full OIDC server solution, Microsoft has focused on providing a set of API endpoints for providing the relevant auth functionality, which ultimately means the developer of the single app doesn't have to worry about the configuration complexity that would need to be conducted where a full OIDC server solution is required. So these identity-related APIs can be leveraged so that registration and login functionality can be easily included within a single app without the configuration overhead included in setting up a full OIDC solution, which may, in many cases, simply be unnecessary. These APIs are designed with out-of-the-box data transfer objects, DTOs, to make it straightforward for you to build in identity-related functionality into, for example, your SPA web application or your mobile or desktop application. Number 6, ML.NET. ML.NET is an open-source cross-platform machine learning platform for .NET developers. It runs anywhere .NET can run, on-prem, cloud, Windows, Mac, Linux. With ML.NET, you can reuse existing knowledge, libraries, and tools that are already being used in .NET to integrate AI into your applications. Your .NET apps are able to consume pre-trained models, for example, TensorFlow or Open Natural Network Exchange, ONNX. You can also train custom models that can be used, for example, for sentiment analysis, fraud detection, to classify objects and images, detect anomalies, for example, spikes in consumer demand, forecast sales, customer segmentation, price prediction, and more. This is what the ML.NET ecosystem looks like. So through .NET bindings, you can leverage a set of powerful libraries, for example, TensorFlow.NET, the ONNX runtime, Torch Sharp, which is a set of .NET bindings for the libtorch library, which is powered by PyTorch. You also have access to libraries provided by Intel, etc. ML.NET provides you with a set of APIs that makes it easy for you to build using these lower-level components. Number 7, C# new features. The trend in C# is to enable developers to leverage greater power with less code and less ceremony. New features are periodically being added to C# that allow the developers to create much cleaner code. Examples of new features are primary constructors included with C# version 12, which is the latest version of C#, first introduced with the release of .NET 8. Collection expressions, ref read-only parameters, inline arrays, interceptors. For more details on new features added recently into the C# language, please check out this video that I created fairly recently, and please also navigate to this URL on the Microsoft Learn platform. Number 8, building and scaling cloud-native applications. In the modern world, there is a great demand for globally distributed cloud-native applications. There is therefore a growing trend toward using the microservice architecture as opposed to the traditional monolithic architecture. The advantages and benefits that come with a proper implementation of the microservice architecture are, for example, frequent incremental component deployments, enabled through the implementation of loosely coupled components. So you can, for example, update one or a few components where necessary, rather than needing to update and deploy the entire application for the purpose of including, for example, small fixes and changes. This loose coupling of small components can result in better availability and generally greater robustness of the application because, for example, a failing component won't bring down the entire application and can be handled in such a way that the application's functionality is still available to the user, even if one or more components are malfunctioning. So high availability is a huge advantage when the microservice architecture is implemented correctly. So ultimately, a much better UX, user experience, is enabled through this type of architecture when implemented correctly. Let's look at the technologies generally used for the implementation of an app that leverages the microservice architecture. Docker can be used for containerizing components. So note that .NET can run within Docker containers. Kubernetes can be used for microservice orchestrations. Dapper is a portable, serverless, event-driven runtime that makes it easy for developers to build resilient, stateless, and stateful microservices that run on the cloud. Redis can be used for caching data so as to enhance the efficiency of retrieving data that needs to be repeatably retrieved. A new excellent technology recently made available to .NET developers is .NET Aspire. .NET Aspire is designed to improve the experience of building observable, production-ready distributed applications for .NET developers. Number 9, IoT Hub on Azure, Internet of Things on Azure. So, .NET can run on a wide variety of devices, including really small devices like, for example, a Raspberry Pi. You can run .NET applications on a variety of things, hardware, that can connect to the cloud. Each device or thing can have its own ID, and therefore data about specific devices can be captured and uploaded to the cloud. This means that you could run a .NET application on, for example, a robotic arm that is used on an assembly line. So your application could, for example, periodically accumulate relevant performance-related data about the robotic arm and upload that data to the cloud. This could mean that real-time data about relevant factory assets can be maintained in a central location in the cloud. A factory manager, for example, can then, perhaps using a mobile app, look at real-time data made available through an endpoint on Azure and know at a glance the health of the relevant assets within the factory. Let's navigate to this location and read about Azure IoT Hub. Enable highly secure and reliable communication between your Internet of Things, IoT, application, and the devices it manages. Azure IoT Hub provides a cloud-hosted solution, back-end, to connect virtually any device. Extend your solution from the cloud to the edge with per-device authentication, built-in device management, and scaled provisioning. Number 10. Entity Framework Core 8. With Entity Framework Core 8, new features are included where LINQ can be leveraged in a standardized way to query not only relational databases like Postgres or SQL Server, but also document-based NoSQL databases like Cosmos DB and MongoDB. A new feature with EF is that you can actually query a relational database where JSON data structured like data within a MongoDB document is stored within a relational database field. Through EF and LINQ, you are able to not only filter queries based on the field values of a relational database table, but you are also able to burrow into the JSON data stored within a database table field and filter queries based on fields stored within the actual JSON data. This is super powerful because it means you can design parts of your relational database in such a way that the typical performance hindrances caused through, for example, multiple joins that sometimes need to be made when querying a relational database can be mitigated by appropriately storing JSON data within relational database tables. So in this way, you can potentially increase the performance of your database queries through EF8 and appropriate JSON data being stored directly within the database table fields of your relational database. So those are my top 10 trends in 2024 that I wanted to highlight in this video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please let me know in the comments section what you see as the most important .NET trends in 2024. If you like this video, please hit the like button and please consider subscribing. Please also ring the bell so that you'll be notified of future content. Please feel free to share this video with anyone you feel may benefit from its content. If you'd like to thank me by buying me a coffee, you can do this through my Buy Me a Coffee webpage at this URL. It will of course be greatly appreciated. I love reading your comments, so please feel free to engage with me in the comments section. I've recently joined X, formerly Twitter, so it would be great if you followed me on X. My username is @GavinLonDigital. I hope to see you soon. Thank you and take care.